I'm going to introduce you to some people that perhaps you're not familiar with. But first of all, if they're quiet back there, I want to let you know that my attorney, yeah, John, I have another attorney. My attorney says that I need to announce that this Q&A is being taped and will be posted on YouTube or otherwise distributed. All right, before we begin, I would be remiss if I didn't introduce my niece Maria and Richard Lasser, both who actively collaborated and help inspire me to make this movie. I'd like Maria and Richard to please stand up if you're, I don't know where you are. And there she is. Okay, thank you. Okay, you would have seen him in TV roles in The Agency or on Wings, or he also appeared in Neil Simon's Biloxi Blues, actually Brighton Beach Memoirs. And then with Michelle Danner, he acted and produced in the movie The Runner and soon to be released Italians. Please welcome an extraordinary talent and a Miranda producer, Brian Drillinger. This author, producer, playwright, and actor is especially known for portraying Robbie Manson's in Oliver Stone's Wall Street 2, Money Never Sleeps, portraying second chair to Prosecutor Turoff, and is no stranger to right here at Monmouth University. I am pleased to introduce John Buffalo Mailer. I would like to say that she was my right hand throughout the production, but actually she was both my right hand, my left hand, my arms, my legs, and the person who kept me sane during some insane times. Allow me to introduce the extraordinary talented producer, Valerie Debler. Is she there? There she comes, stage right. If you watch Bosch, Deadwood, Justified, Law and Order, SVU, or Judging Amy, you would have seen this man who brilliantly portrayed Detective Lieutenant Nealis. Please welcome Brent Sexton. On Broadway and stage, he appeared in Kiss Me Kate, On the Waterfront, The Boy from Oz, La Cage aux Folles, and Oliver, just to name a few roles. His TV credits are as long as your arm, including every iteration of Law & Order, The West Wing, and Rescue Me. Portraying Judge Yale McFate. You can't make up a name like Yale McFate, by the way. It was just unbelievable. All right, please welcome a Tony Award winner and Monmouth County's own Michael Mulheron. Oh, he didn't win. I'm sorry. Okay. You did win in my heart. Okay. This actor was cast in numerous films, including Traffic, Black Hawk Down, and TV CSI and NCIS. Many of our focus groups actually voted him the best actor. I am honored to introduce Detective Carol Cooley, played by Enrique Murciano. Yeah, you got it. All right. You know, I'm going to say to you that the toughest role to cast, how can one of the nicest people you'll ever meet portray one of the worst characters in history? To me, this was in a league with Zac Efron, who played Ted Bundy, all right? Anthony Hopkins, who portrayed Hannibal Lecter, and Jeremy Renner, who played Jeffrey Dahmer. We all need to thank the person whose Miranda character graces the title. He's not coming up here tonight, but let me introduce you. I think you're out there someplace, Sebastian Quinn. Where is he? He missed the great introduction. Okay. And I will say something. The rain played havoc with a lot of people's schedules. I know Nolan Gould wanted to be here, and he just couldn't make it. So I think you're all understanding, but I just wanted to let you know that. It's hard for me to express my gratitude to the next two people coming on stage together. Our director was not only able to assemble our star-studded cast, but she told the story of Trish better than I could have ever imagined. Please give a round of applause and welcome both Michelle Danner and Patricia Weir-Shumway. Thank you. RAIN stands for Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. Using the 1-800 number that we saw at the end of the film, the National Sex Assault Hotline has handled 4.3 million calls and since its inception, I think in 1994. It is now handling 300,000 calls annually. I am pleased to introduce the 1994 founder of RAIN, who will be moderating this panel discussion, Scott Berkowitz.
Good evening. It's great to be here, see this incredible movie tonight, and I'm so honored to be here moderating this panel and to celebrate Trish's incredible story. Trish, I want to start out by thanking you both for the courage you showed so many years ago and for sharing your story with the world today. She made me promise before I came out here that I would not call her a hero, and that I would try and limit any other compliments, which is really hard because I think she is just such a special, incredible person, and what she did is so inspiring to me, and I'm hoping that many millions of Americans will witness this story as well. So Trish, I'm going to turn the first question to you. What went through your mind when George first reached out to you, and why did you agree to work with the filmmakers?
I gotta be honest.
I'll put that closer to your lips.
Okay.
There you go.
I will be totally honest. What came to my mind was, excuse me, get the hell out of here. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. And you're lucky that your wife, Beatha, was with you because I fell in love with her. But I love him now.
That's great. George, what first drew you to Trish's story?
Well, the reality is that, I had too much time on my hands when COVID first broke out. And so I started to, I was in my office and I overheard the Miranda rights being given to somebody on some detective show. And I said, you know what, I need to look up the Miranda rights. I'm sitting there, I really got nothing to do except sit at my computer and look for masks and, and toilet paper. And so I said, what is this Miranda stuff? I knew somebody that alleged that he worked on the case, so I went to the Supreme Court decision and I looked at it. And I said, I can't find my friend who worked on the case. Let me go back to the Arizona Supreme Court. Maybe that's, where he worked on the case. And so I looked at the Arizona decision, and then I got engaged in the story of Miranda. And we started to investigate it, and I initially retained my niece, Maria, who also was sitting at home with too much time on her hands. And she's a doctorate in chemistry, so she knows how to research. But we started researching this whole story. And, what was interesting was the way in which Miranda, the irony that Miranda died, and the person got away because his being read his Miranda rights. But I always ask the question, what happened to the victim? It seems nobody really cared about the victim. In fact, they think Miranda is the hero. And so with that, Maria and I, we started digging into police reports, high school records, and we found Trish. And I got to tell you something. Since I met her, I can tell you she is a hero. She's one special woman, and I'm just glad that we could tell the story. It's an important story, and tell it the right way.
I don't feel like no hero.
How did you come to choose Michelle to direct this?
Oh, me again, huh? Okay. Actually, I interviewed a few directors, but I can tell you, Michelle was the only one to fly in to New Jersey and meet with me not once but twice. And I can tell you that her passion, I could see it, she could feel it. There was a connection. I always said that there's an invisible hand that brought the two of us together. And she just did an extraordinary job, and I can't thank her enough. She did a job that I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't imagine this story would turn out as well as I think it did, and I hope you did too. Thank you.
Yeah. Michelle, you did really an incredible job telling the story. It's just
Thank you.
beautiful. What drew you to the project?
Well, I've always been fascinated by crime stories. So when, I was approached with this, I thought, oh, they must know something about me. And then the last movie that I did before Miranda's Victim was called The Runner. And the first scene was you have the right to remain silent. And I was like, I've never asked myself, where did that come from? And so I started to read a little bit about the Miranda rights, and I realized, well, this story was never told. I mean, never told. Not through a documentary, a miniseries, a Law and Order, never. And I thought, well, this is incredible to find a story that's never been told. I mean, that just doesn't happen. But I was fascinated also because it was a story about justice so much that it came full circle. And there was karmic justice, as we all saw at the end. Karma is a bitch. I thought, I was really fascinated by it. I had a very strong want. Valerie, who's one of our wonderful producers, she remembers that I told her, I said, I want to do this, right? Very clearly, I said it. And, like George said. And it was just great because, George really went and asked a question and met wonderful Patricia, and she was brave enough to say yes, what? Yes, and Vida. And so, things fell into place.
I know it can be incredibly hard to deal with such a serious topic day after day. How did the seriousness of this affect the atmosphere on set?
Well, it was a great atmosphere. We were just now at Mammoth University in the Great Hall, right? It was the Great Hall. And so, of course, we shot there several scenes. One of the rooms became the Supreme Court. The other room was the courthouse, So it brought back memories going there. I had such a wonderful cast. I was just so fortunate on every level. The producers, since we're at Mammoth University, there were some great locations in New Jersey, but Mammoth University opened our doors to us in such a generous way. We were so welcome here. There was so much good energy shooting this movie that, maybe we forgot what we were shooting, but we knew going into the scene the weight and the importance and what the scenes were about. And there is a difference. I saw this was a question. And I just finished shooting a comedy. I was just on set for a month shooting a comedy. And there is a difference between shooting a movie like Miranda's Victim and something a little lighter, because you feel the responsibility of wanting to tell the story right. Yeah. There is such a thing.
Enrique, you played Detective Cooley. How does preparing for playing a real person like Cooley differ from typical prep playing a fictional character?
You know, I always play every character like they're real people. And I believe somewhere deep inside my brain that they exist, you know, and they do. But when you play a human being that actually lived, and a human being that actually left an impression, a positive one in my case, and in this character's case, you know, in this world that we live in, there's a tremendous amount of responsibility that comes with it, because somewhere deep down inside, you know, I have a big imagination, and all of my characters come from this place, you know, that I've had in my head since I used to play, you know, with BB guns and build tree houses since I was a child. But when you're playing, you know, in Black Hawk Down, I played a guy named Lorenzo Ruiz, who died. And when I was playing him, I knew that at one point or another, whether it was a wife, an ex-wife, you know, a widow, or a child, or a father, or a mother, someone was going to sneak into a theater somewhere, whether it's Arkansas, wherever it was, in the middle of the day, and see, at least try to get as close as they can to the one person that they don't have anymore in their life. You know, so when you play someone that actually was a real life hero, you know, I haven't had much luck in the Marvel world, or like playing real superheroes. I think I'm a little bit out of shape these days, and it's keeping me back, I'm gonna be honest. But I play real heroes, you know. There's a funny saying that I love, you know, not all heroes wear capes. And in this particular situation, Cooley was a real hero. He was extraordinarily fastidious and determined to do the right thing, only because it was the right thing, not because there was a big payday at the end or a big gold medal that he would somehow win somehow. Mm-hmm. But everything that Cooley did, he did because there was a voiceless victim. There was someone that needed to be pulled out of this ocean of silence that so many people have been, well, so many women have drowned in. And look, I'm getting the goosebumps because I actually believe every word that I'm saying, you know? So in this particular case, it was a tremendous responsibility, not only for Cooley, but for this beautiful human being right here, because every word that came out of my mouth needed to illustrate exactly and honestly and beautifully and respectfully what you have endured. So my performance, just so you know, every word was for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Valerie, what drew you to Miranda's Victim?
Well, I'm going to say something that's been said already a little bit in this room, but whenever a woman stands up for what is right, I think we need to put a megaphone to that. And so many people came up to me during the production, from the crew, from background, from actors, and they'd had a story to tell about sexual assault. And it's not always the same story, but it's always, it scars the same. And I would have to say that all of them said they didn't tell anyone. Some of them tried to. The prosecutor said it's going to be hard to prosecute. Just go on with your life, put it away. And they felt that being part of this project gave them that voice, the one they found it somehow in telling this story. So that was a very compelling reason for me to do the project. The story was also told in a very compelling way. George Colbert, Richard Lasser, Craig Stiles told a story that really puts two very important issues side by side. Civil rights are undeniably, important. And the decision that the Supreme Court made and the ensuing Miranda rights were the right thing. And they belong to everybody. They belong to Ernesto Miranda, however guilty he was, because they're for the guilty and for the innocent. They're for all of us. But at the same time, we told the story of Patricia Weir and she got her justice. Because of her courage to testify the second time, she was able to, convict Inez and Miranda. And I thought many times as we were doing the film, what if she had said no, and she didn't go through it the second time? What if she went through it, but somehow didn't testify in the way that she did and didn't get him convicted? And now we would have this imbalance. And I love the way that the story was told, because the two things can exist. And before we filmed, I had a very long conversation with Donald Sutherland, who delivers this incredible speech at the end before he sentences Ernesto Miranda. And he tells him, you've been given all these privileges. And there's a line in there, he says, while some would quarrel about the advisability or the desirability of these rights. And Donald stopped and he said, who would quarrel with this? Who would have a problem with giving these rights, in a justice system? And I thought, well, this is our justice system. This is where we live. This is America. That's what we have. So for all of these things, in terms of the way the story was told, it really drew me through the project. And I have to say that having worked on it, I just have to say George Kolber was the most incredible producing partner ever. He was there, he took the good and he took the bad, and there was a lot of bad. He took it. So I'm very happy that I got to work with this incredible cast. Every single one of these actors just delivered. I mean, Michelle talked about what it was like on set. I mean, it was production, and I called it upstairs and downstairs. Downstairs was the whole chaos of the production. Then you come upstairs, and this really serious atmosphere. It's like you could just feel it from the actors, from the crew that was filming. These guys, they just delivered, day after day. It was like court is in session. It was really incredible.
Thank you. And what your observation about the crew and folks feeling like they don't have a voice really resonates with me. Over half of the people who call the National Sexual Assault Hotline say that they've never told a single person before they picked up the phone. And in some cases, they're calling 50 years after their assault. So it's really something that stays with people and affects the rest of their life. So I think a lot of people are going to reach out for help and talk about their own experience as a result of seeing this incredible film. Brian, what brought you into this?
Say again? What's the question?
What brought you into this?
I have to apologize. I'm really having trouble hearing. So,
What brought you into
thank you, George. Thanks. Well, when Michelle approached me with the project and I read it, it was incredibly moving to me. And as we worked to bring this to fruition, it really moved me how much everybody got on board because of the project, not for any personal whatever, but at least everyone I talked to, from the cast to the crew, to anyone who had read the script, it was a story that needed to be told. And as a producer, you don't often get the opportunity to tell that story. So it was exciting as well to be a part of this, and working with Michelle and Valerie and George and this wonderful cast and crew. It just kind of moved. It just fell into place. And any project has issues, it has problems. Working on something as big as a feature film, there's always going to be obstacles in the way. But working here in New Jersey and at Mammoth University and the areas surrounding, people were so helpful and so willing to get on board. It really wasn't a challenge at all. It really was a great experience. And I think that really shows on the screen. And I'm really glad to be a part of getting to tell this incredibly important story. And I personally think as great as all these amazing actors are, I'm seeing some of the best of their performances in this movie, and I really credit Michelle for that. She really brought this story to life, and she really made it human and real, because in other hands, it could have been a whole other kind of a movie. And Michelle really brought it to where it needed to be. And again, I'm really grateful for that opportunity.
So, Brent, I know you've played fictional cops before. Was this the first time you played a real live one? What did you learn about Sergeant Nealis along the way?
I don't know if this is the first time, but I mean, everything I learned about Detective Nealis actually came from George. George is a research junkie. He's fantastic at it. I believe Nealis did the crimes against persons. He became the captain at Grand Rapids, Michigan, I think is what, yeah. And so to me, that essence just of a guy who wants justice, somebody who wants to solve crime. To me, that's the main thing that I had latched on to. And just get out of the way of that and tell the story that Michelle wants to tell. Which, by the way, I'm going to say something else because I have a microphone. The story she told is the story she wanted to tell, which I applaud you for. I've applauded you for this before, because most people would want to cut out of this movie and make the end when he's convicted and they walk out of the courtroom and it's all happy and everything else. But that wasn't the entire story. And Michelle wanted to tell the entire story, and I think that's important.
Okay. Michael, what do you remember most from, sorry. What's your best memory from filming this?
Finding out that Trish was going to be here. I mean, that was after the film was wrapped. I saw a cut done back in December. And also that seeing Donald Sutherland, we'd worked together in Australia, God knows, 06, 07, and I hadn't seen him since then. And to see him sitting up there, I said, of course he's the judge. Because when George and I first spoke, he said, you're going to play one of the judges. And I read the script and I said, well, I want to be Judge Wren. And they said, yeah, Donald Sutherland's attached to them. Well, I guess he's doing that part, isn't he? But George, we had known of each other. He knew my brother John, and he knows my sister-in-law Nancy. And Siobhan Fallon Hogan put us together, and I was really excited because, the story's not about Miranda. It's kind of like Custer's Last Stand. No, it's the Battle of the Little Bighorn, because he did lose. And Miranda was a despicable human being. So when George called me, I said, I really want to be part of this project. And I was really happy about that till I subsequently found out, because of SAG's diversity rules, they had to have a Monmouth County resident in the picture. So I live in Middletown. That's only one of the only reasons George hired me. But it was a good thing. Forget the mayor. He didn't speak in the picture. So.
Well, I'll also just add that the hotel bill for you was great. You just rolled out of your bed and you showed up in Middletown. I loved it. He's a Middletown resident, if you don't know.
John Buffalo Mailer, what made you want to do this film?
What didn't make me want to do this film, frankly? You know, I'm not just an actor, I'm also a journalist. I do a lot of different things. I've had the privilege of knowing Michelle for a long time. So she called me and said, listen, do you got a couple of days? I'm doing a movie in New Jersey. Can you come down and do it? And I said, absolutely, Michelle, whatever you need. Sight unseen. And she said, yeah, it'll be like 2-3 days. And it's at Monmouth. You have a car, right? I said, oh, yeah. She said, okay, well, listen, can we save a little bit on budget? Do you mind if we don't, put you up? Do you mind driving down? I was like, 2-3 days? Absolutely. And she said, oh, by the way, you're going to be the assistant prosecutor to Luke Wilson. And I thought I was going to get the question of, what's the biggest challenge with this movie? I thought at first it's going to be hard not to laugh sitting next to Luke Wilson for a few days, because that guy's funny. He makes me feel like I'm in summer camp again. It's really incredible. And then I got the script, and I looked at it, and I said, Michelle, I know there's not like a tremendous amount of dialogue, but I think I'm going to be in 2/3 of this movie sitting next to Luke Wilson. This is going to be a good shoot. It was amazing because it actually gave me my health insurance, which I really wasn't expecting, and that was a phenomenal thing. But then I actually realized what from being great friends with this woman, what I had the privilege of being a part of. And if you're lucky, you get to do a lot of movies. There's very few where when you talk to somebody who hasn't seen the movie and you tell them what the movie's about, they lean in. And suddenly they're really excited about this. And when I tell them that I had the opportunity to be a part of the first time that this extraordinary woman sitting in front of me decided to tell her story, I've had a number of humbling experiences in my life. This was one of the biggest. And to get to be a part of this and to add whatever little bit, as all the actors do, add their little bit to the reveal of this story blows my mind. And when I see this incredible ensemble cast that I think, frankly, Enrique somehow steals a little bit, even though it's like a cast of superstars. There's one person who I'm a little obsessed with. He kind of steals it. But truthfully, on this set, everybody knew that we were telling something for the first time that's wildly important, because this gets to the heart of our legal system, which is a gray, crazy, wild place where from a horrific thing, something actually adjusts the legal system in a positive way, and yet we gotta know the source, we gotta know the story, we gotta know the person who actually adjusted this legal system. So that's what drew me to this movie.
Trish, I've heard from so many survivors over the years that deciding to go through the criminal justice process and dealing with the ups and downs and the stresses and all the things that can go wrong is one of the hardest things they've ever experienced. You did it not once but twice. What prompted you, what motivated you to come back and do it all over again after the conviction was overturned?
I was very, very angry that I had to do it a second time. And I wanted him to pay for it.
What message would you give other survivors who are trying to decide if reporting is the right decision for them?
Oh my God, report it. These guys shouldn't be able to get away with what they've done. And there's so much out there that can help you. Just report it. They should pay for what they've done.
Michelle, what do you hope the biggest takeaway for audiences is?
You know, I hope that people will be inspired to come forth. I mean, we've gone through the festival circuit. We're coming to the end. We have 2 more festivals. We played in 4 historical theaters, the first one being the Arlington Theater in Santa Barbara. We were the opening night movie. Over 2,000 people came. A lot of our cast came as well. The last historical movie that we played was last week, right? Where was last week, the week before, Catalina, the Avalon Theater, first theater that had sound in the United States. And people were crying. Every time that I have seen it with an audience, and at this point it certainly doesn't escape me how grateful I am that we are able to be together without masks in a room to watch a movie, because we've all gone through the lockdown. So to be able to watch it with people and feel people's response, you know, it's so visceral in the audience. People were crying in Catalina last week. People are moved by the story. It's a moving story because it's a story about being brave. And we all, you know what it's like to find it inside of ourselves, to be brave, to have the courage to speak. So I hope people will take, every time that postscript comes up at the end of the movie where it says, for 1,000 crimes, there's 5 convictions. There's always some sort of a response in the audience, because a lot of sexual assaults stay unpunished. And so people, I hope people are inspired to come forth, keep coming forth with their stories and seek justice. And since I have a microphone, the other thing that I want to say is that the movie comes out next week. It comes out on October 6th. And it is an independent movie. And so we need all the help we can get. And I forget to say it, but I want to say it tonight. If you have a moment in the next few days and you've liked the movie, if you can go, online and write something about it. Write on, it's gonna open up on Rotten Tomatoes, it's gonna open up on wherever, I don't know, where all the places are. But anywhere you could go and write something about the movie to support the movie, I think, it would help. And so I thank you for that.
I'm going to echo Michelle's thoughts. You can go on to IMDb. And by the way, whether or not you like the movie, go on to IMDb, all right? Register and give it a 10.
Only
Not a 9, a 10.
And y'all have already won a bunch of awards.
Yes, we won some awards on the festival circuit, so knock wood on that, and hopefully it will be it will continue, I should say, to be well received, as it opens up more, nationwide and people get to see it.
That's great. George, I want to end with you. And your son, Rick, serves on the board of 180 Turning Lives Around, which has helped thousands of sexual and domestic violence victims here in New Jersey. So clearly this commitment to survivors and this understanding and this empathy runs in the family. What would you say to folks in the audience wondering what they can do to help?
Well, I'm going to start off by saying that it was the community that helped me make this movie. Without this community, it's a marvelous community, a generous community, all right? I don't know that this movie could have been made, or certainly not in the way that Michelle delivered it from New Jersey. We are in this community, and you talk about Rick, who does a lot of volunteer work, not only with 180, but 180 is a passion of his, all right? I think Brian Nelson is also here, and a lot of the 180 team is here. We all recognize that abused women need to be taken care of. They come from families, they come from everywhere, you know, and their situations are all different. I can just tell you that my whole family, all right, you know, it's Vita, Rick, Lisa, we all recognize that we need to give back to the community. And we all do it in a little different way, but we all appreciate the work of 180 Turning Lives Around, which is part of the RAIN network, because, as I said earlier, RAIN handles 300,000 calls a year. 300,000 a year. That's amazing. And 180 handles a lot of calls that fall in this area from RAIN. So any way you can help 180, you're also helping RAIN, and you can always help RAIN directly as well. But I don't know if I answered your question, but I think that's it.
That's great. Well, congratulations to y'all. Incredible film. I'm excited for the release next week. I hope this gets the huge audience that it deserves. Y'all did just such an incredible job. Congratulations.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Okay. Just one last thing. So apparently, for those of you who started out at the Great Hall, you can now end up at the Great Hall, because I think they're serving some special cocktails and drinks and so forth. So please feel free to work your way up there. And I'll also say, go out through the front. I think you're going to see some of the cars that were in the movie. So make sure you visit those cars on your way up to the Great Hall. All of you should take a look at the cars that we have outside. Thank you. Thank you.